Today we'll be going over more workflow actions, specifically contact actions, and what they do and specific scenarios that they can be used in. Starting off with create contact, it's very simple. Almost all of these actions are going to be in relation to the contacts tab in your business profile. So first up, create contact. It will create the contact in your smart list, whether they filled out a form or whatever you have set up on your website. Find contact. This is sort of like a verification tool for create contact and update contact. Say, for example, your workflow is triggered and you want to see if the contact is already in your smart list. You use this to verify whether or not they are already in your account or in your smart list. And if they are not, it will skip this step and go immediately into create contact or update contact.
Before you continue, Cohen, give me 1 second. I do want to give an update for the people that are new on this call. I did want to bring that we are continuing on with automations. So basically, we're continuing on from talking about triggers for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Now we're actually going into the actions of what you would use it for. And today we are going to go over just the contact sections, and then we'll actually give examples as well. So Cohen, go ahead and right ahead. I figured some of these people are new. That's why.
Yeah, update contact field. It will basically update any field that you have set within the contact, any information that you want updated, depending on the trigger and what you're wanting to update. Add a contact tag. This is basically like just trying to see what type of contact they are, like a hot lead, cold lead, have you, just to see how engaged they are in your business. Remove contact tag, whether the tag no longer applies to them. Assign to user, say for example that a new contact was created and you have a employee that you want to be assigned to the contact, and whatever they want from you, you can assign a user from your company to that contact. Remove assigned user is the opposite. You remove the user that has been assigned to that contact, and they will no longer be charged with any tasks or conversations with that contact. Edit conversation. This is similar to a setting up rules for your inbox and your email. So you may mark certain emails in companies as spam. You can do that with edit conversations as well. And where did you say that you can access this, Oren?
Which part? Edit conversation?
Edit conversation, yeah.
So if you go to the conversation tab,
Yep.
So let's say you have a list of contacts under unread and you want them, let's say you're just doing an automation where they respond to a email campaign or something like that, and you just want them automatically marked as read. You can have that automatically happen with that functionality. Whereas before, if you didn't have that functionality, you would have to go into your unread section and mark them as read, each and every one of them, or move them to the appropriate folder. For example, let's say you got a bunch of spam from Facebook, which seems to be a very common issue going on with a lot of social media accounts. You could have, if it has this specific word, automatically move it to archive, or something like that. There's a couple ways you could use it, but that's a good example.
Next is enable and disable D&D. Whenever this is enabled or whenever this is enabled on a contact, it will let users know, hey, do not reach out to this client or contact. They have marked it, the specified field as do not disturb, whether that be their email, they typed out stop in a message, do not send me any more messages. It will let your users know. And to notes, this is another feature in the conversations tab, or in the contacts tab. Whenever you go into the contacts page, on here on the right hand side, there is the notes section. This is similar to a tag, except it is more detailed and it could be very user specific. And task, if there's ever a situation where a client, say that they're created in your account or in your business and you want your employee to do something for them, you can add a task whenever that client has been created. Say they want an ad, You make the task, make an ad for the client, and then it will be assigned to the user so that they know to make that ad. Copy contact. Some of you may not have this option, some of you will. This is for companies that have multiple businesses and they want to add a contact that is in one business and move it to another. So is there anything that you want to add to that, Oren? Copy contact?
Copy contact. I'll probably talk more about that in my examples. Most of you will probably not even be able to see that option. For example, some of you might. For example, Jenny would be a good example where she has access to multiple accounts. If she wants to move, let's say, a contact from Des Moines over to Omaha, she could use that with that automation right there.
Next is delete contact. It is exactly how it sounds. Whenever this action is chosen, it will delete the contact specified. Modify contact engagement score. This is a unique feature in the settings tab down at the bottom where manage scoring. So basically what this is, you can add a score system of sorts to your contacts, and then you can add specific rules as well. And they get points based on what they do. So if they open your emails that you send a lot, they will gain a point, and this will basically let you know how hot of a lead they are, how cold of a lead they are, and so on. Add contact followers. This is for your users and employees. Say, for example, that you want a manager and a few other people to help with one specific client or contact. You assign John A to, say, Labor Max, but John A needs some help, needs more employees to help him with whatever task that he needs done. So you add more employees like John B, John C under him, so that he has basically a team all assigned to Labor Max. Remove contact followers is the opposite. You would be removing any team members assigned to John A. And that is basically the summary of these contact actions in the workflows. And now Oren will be going over specific scenarios that they will be used in.
Thank you, Cohen. All right, I'm going to go ahead and take over the screen. If you don't mind turning yours off. First things first, how you're going to add an automation. If you are new to it, log into your account, go to automation, and you might have a few already listed in here. We do create a couple of test ones that you could use for example purposes. However, if you want to make a new one, all you got to do is create a workflow. So start from scratch. And then the nice thing is you do not always need to have a trigger. The trigger could be you automatically put that information in there, but if you do want to automatically do something, whether it be someone responds to an email, opens an email, books an appointment with you guys, that could be a trigger as well. Or you could just have a list of items that you automatically put in there. I know a lot of clients like to use it for a power dialer where they just grab a list of contacts and automatically puts into a automation. That would be an example of not actually having a trigger. What I'm going to do in this situation is not include a trigger, but you're more than welcome to add that at any time. So a couple things I want to do is go ahead and we're going to we're going to go ahead and skip a couple of these for example purposes, and then we're going to go back to them at a later point. So let's say we want to update a contact field. Now I'm just going to do something very simple. We'll go ahead and just update the last name for a contact. So I'll find last name, and we'll go ahead and change it to, let's say, Smith. Why would you do that? I don't know, but this is just for example purposes. You could do other things like how much money someone has spent with you and changing that value inside that client. Maybe a client, maybe have a form built so that way if a customer wants to update their information with you, they could go to that form, put in that information, and it will actually check to see, hey, is this the same field? No. All right, update that field. So we'll go ahead and do that for example purposes. All right, cool. So, and one thing I'm going to do as well is go ahead and update the settings since I'm going to be doing a bunch of re-entries. Also, highly recommend checking out the settings because it does give you a little bit extra features on here. For example, allow re-entry, stop on response, different time zones. So if you don't want emails, text message going out at midnight, this could be a time constraint right here that you could stop it at. If you do send out emails or text message, you could actually automatically put a email address in there as the sent email from. And then obviously if someone does respond back through this automation, it'll mark it as read as well. So that way you'll keep your unread section empty. So let's go ahead and try it out. I do have some smart list right here for dummy data. I'm going to go ahead and add a couple in there, and then you can add to automation. And then at that point, we're going to add to workflow. We'll go ahead and put it in test. Oh, we already have a test. Test number 1. Let's just hope we clicked on the right one then. So what's going to happen is, if I send it to the right one, I did not. There is another one. Let's see where it is. Ah, there it is. We're going to delete that for draft workflow and try it this time. So going back to contacts, going back to my smart list, clicking on a couple, and then we're going to add to automation. Okay, proceed. Test number 1. In case you didn't know, actions are just little tidbits and notes. So that way, if you ever want to see what bulk actions were handled by a specific individual, you can always look it up by different actions. So test version 2. If you go back to the automation, we should have 3 in there. Right there. 3 were added. So if we go back to those contacts, what we did is we went in and updated their last name. So if I go back to the dummy data, it actually removed them because I had this last name is Powell. So they actually got removed from my dummy data. But if I look it up for Oren Smith, there it is. We have an Oren Smith right there. Jeff Smith, I think, was another one that we added. And there it is as well. Automatically updated the last name. Obviously, I'll change this in a later point. Nice thing is we do have this bulk action where we could go in and revert those changes if need be. So let's try a different one for example purposes. All right, we're going to delete that. Yeah. Create contact should be self-explanatory, but if you don't know, if someone filled out a form or if you're bringing in data from a different source, let's say from a third party like BizConnect, Monday.com, Zoom Info is another good one that a lot of people use. Square is one that we've been setting up for a lot of people. It will automatically create the contact if you put it in there, and it will put that data in appropriately. That's one way you could do it if you're using webhooks for those situations. Find contact, like Cohen mentioned, a good example of this would be if you're sending out invoices and you don't want the invoice to be created under another duplicate name. It'll actually find to see if that client or customer is already in the software. If it is, it'll just create the invoice underneath them. And you could check it by different source, by business name, the city, the contact ID. If you have custom fields, you also could use it for that. A couple of things that we worked on lately was Square IDs. So you could all go off of that information to create the invoice. Add contact tag. So Cohen mentioned contact tag is very helpful to stay organized. If you don't know what a contact tag is, it's these little things on the sidebar where it allows you to say tags. For example, we have a couple for these clients right here. BizConnect, potential client, Jeff BC, which means Jeff's BizConnect account. You could use that so that way if you do ever do a search, like for example, BizConnect, it'll automatically pull up those with that specific tag. So it's a way to group information together. For example, if you're going off of potential clients, for example, for LaborMax, I know we have a couple of people in here from LaborMax. You could do something like PFTM or potential FTM, and that could be a separate category right there that you can organize. If you want to do it by locations, you can do it, or a specific niche, you could also go by that as well. For example, you could have like plumbers in one category, HVAC in another category, flagging, construction, so on and so forth as a specific tag. The nice thing is it's freeform. It works with whatever works best for your business. So you can make a tag for almost anything you want. The nice thing with the automation is you could have it automatically add a specific tag. So if you're trying to add a group of contacts together and add a tag to them, this would be a great way of doing that, so you could actually send that information over. So all you would have to do is once I delete, add a tag, and then we'll just add a specific tag. I'll go ahead and make, let's say, test. All right, there's one. Test 2. Awesome. Save, save. And then what I'll do is I'll just choose a couple of contacts that would have that. So for example, I'll look up the Smiths, and then I'll go ahead and add to automation. Okay, proceed. And what it will do, it will automatically add those specific tags, as you see right there, test two, and we might have another one under this one. Oh, there. So let's see. There they are. There's the 3 that we just added with the tag test 2. It's a good way to keep it all organized, all under one group. Going back to the automation, I'm just going to delete this really fast. Let's say we want to remove a specific tag. There is a couple reasons why you would want to do this. I'll actually show an example as well. But if you don't want, let's say you were working with a potential client and they said, I'm no longer interested. I just don't want to work with you. Please stop calling me, stuff like that. Perfect. You probably want to get that tag removed so that way you could stop bothering them and making sure your team stop bothering them as well. That would be a good example right there. So we're going to go ahead and remove contact tag. And I'm going to go ahead and remove the one that we just added, test 2. Perfect. And then save. It's also a good way to go through a system and making sure that that information is gone. Give me 1 second. For example, let's say someone accidentally typed in client wrong or potential client wrong, which we have multiple clients that are doing that right now. This is a good way to get that fixed where you can remove that tag and add the appropriate tag in there as well. Someone had a question. Who was it?
More of a statement.
Yeah.
The tag piece, instead of removing the tag, what I've been doing recently is just adding no contact to it. And then when I'm creating a campaign, I can add that as a filter so I'm not losing those in that list.
Correct. That's a great way to do it by adding an extra tag. That goes a long way. And it could be like, what you could do is as well with that, what Cohen was mentioning earlier, this might not work. I don't know your situation 100%, but you could also use the D&T option right here, which makes sure that you don't send out an email to that person, don't allow them to send out a text to that person, and so on and so forth. So I could disable specific channels, and then you could do call, email, call, SMS, email, WhatsApp, Facebook, or Google My Business. So both of those are great options. That's the nice thing about the software. You could do literally 10, 20 different things to do the same action. So if something's not working for one way, you can make a different way work. Thank you, Jenny, for bringing that up. So we're going to go ahead and test that out really fast. All right, so go to contacts. Let's find those 3 that we had. Nice thing is we already have those tags in place, so I just have to type in test 2. Boom. And I don't know if I saved that. Hopefully I did, but let's test it out. It's always good to save and save often. Awesome. So workflow test. What this should do is automatically remove that tag, test 2. Let's check it out. Give it a second, unless I didn't save. That could have been it too. Got one working on. Go to the automation, see what's going on. Yeah, looks like it's working. So if we go back to that, maybe I just didn't select it. Yep, it's gone. Just took a second, but there you go. Got those tags removed off those people from something very simple with an automation right there. I'm not going to do all of them. I'm just showing a couple examples on this. If you guys want to schedule a meeting, I'm more than welcome to do that, and we could talk more specifically on what you're trying to do and see how we could do it for you. So remove assign users. That would be a good one as well. So you can assign users to specific contacts if they're working on it. I would highly recommend assigning a user as the account manager, especially if you have multiple people working on it. For example, in our business, we have, for example, me as the account manager who talked to that specific individual. Mustafa is also account manager handling specific clients as well. And then we also have people that work underneath us that works on specific tasks for a client. So for example, we might have Cohen working on the SEO for a client, whereas we have another employee working on the social media side of that specific client. That would be a great example to how to use assign to users, and below how to add and remove contact followers. That would be the difference from what Cohen was talking about earlier. So assigning a user and followers are almost the same. It's just assigning a user is the hierarchy, the top tier, whereas followers are just lower tiers of working on specific task for a contact. So let's go ahead and let's see. I'm going to send a text in, and we're going to make this as marked as read, and we'll go ahead and mark this as none for archive. You can edit as archive as well. So what we're going to do on this one is we're going to actually edit a conversation because you just want a bunch of things marked as unread inside your contacts. There's a couple reasons why you would do this, especially if it's like automated messages that you just want to get marked as unread. That would be a reason. So I'm going to go ahead and send a message to myself. Will be a good one. Unless someone's already in here. Let's double check. We have one from Johnny. So we'll go ahead and grab this one right here. Oops, I'll call him. I got his name. So we'll go ahead and do that. And then we're going to go ahead and find him. Make sure it's the right one. And then we're going to add to automation. Okay, proceed. Add that test. Obviously, we're only doing it for one contact, but you would probably do it for like 10, 20, 30, or for a specific filter that you're going off of. Add to automation. And what it will do is whenever I go back to automate or conversations, let me double check to see it's working. Yep. It should mark it as read. And as you can see, it's no longer at the top. Yep. He's already been removed from unread and has been moved to all. So that would be a good way to keep your unread section clean. It's always recommended to keep your unread empty as much as possible to show that, just like your emails, that you're making sure that you're touching base with all your contacts. That's why you would do that in this situation. Please don't use me as an example, by the way. I know I am slacking on that. I do want to show you a couple examples of larger sizes. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know we're getting short on time at this moment. But let me go ahead and show you a couple that we've done for a few clients of ours. We have all-class drivers. This is a great one that you could use as an example of how detailed you could go with your automation. Where is it? This is a good one. So as you can see with your automation, you could get very detailed on it as much as possible. For this situation, this was basically sending out reminders and confirmations for a road test appointment. All-class driver is a driving school down in Tampa, Florida, which maybe wouldn't fit in your criteria. However, you can use the appointment scenario very similar. So if you're trying to book appointments for your business, maybe for interviews or booking appointments with clients, so you could go visit them, whether in person or on a Google Meet, this would be a great way to use this feature. So one trigger is an appointment is confirmed for a specific road test on their calendar. They send out a confirmation text message to go out. They send out another text message because they have to give out important information. And then they send out a confirmation email as well. They wait 24 hours before their next before the appointment happens. And then they send out a reminder email, just letting them know it's like, hey, we do have, just want to let you know we have our appointment tomorrow. And then they also send out a text message as well. And then 1 hour before the appointment, sends out another email and a text message to that customer. And then they even added an additional feature where after 1 hour the appointment was made, it will add a tag saying it was done, English, and road test. This would be a good example of adding tags. So that way you can see, hey, which contacts have their appointment completed, which one were English, which one were Spanish, which test did they take, and then create or update onto the opportunity board. I extremely like this specific action because you can literally automate your whole opportunity board to automatically move to the appropriate spot after a specific action has been taken. Another thing you could use it for is maybe for text message afterwards. We do have a client over in Oklahoma City and a couple other locations as well that I could show. Where is it? Not that one. This one. Where they're asking people for reviews. But instead of asking everyone for a review on Google, you want to segment that data out so that way, let's say if they had a poor experience, you don't want to send them to Google. I wouldn't, you wouldn't, I don't think anyone would. But instead, you still want to get that feedback because it could be important information that you need to know what's happening inside your office. So this is a good way to do this. So whenever this contact or this client gets a phone call, it gets added into this portal, and then it's going to check to see if they've already received a review. We use a tag for this situation called review request sent. If they already have the specific tag, it kicks them out because we don't want to bombard them with text messages. Then it sends them a text message saying, hello, we wanted to follow up because we saw that you called us recently. Did you have a good experience with our rep? It adds the tag review request resent. So that way it doesn't send them the same message over and over again. Wait for a response for 1 day, and then it just checks the status. Did they say, yes, I had a great experience? Then we send them a review request asking for a review on Google. Let's say they said no. Perfect, that's totally fine. We asked them, we're sorry that you didn't have a good experience. Do you mind filling out this short survey so we know what to do better next time? And then it just takes them to a survey link instead. A nice thing about the survey link is it's private. you're able to handle it in-house rather than it being shown onto the web. We'll talk about this in just a second. Obviously, if they say stop, we don't want to bug them anymore, so we automatically mark them as do not disturb for text messages, since this is strictly text messages right here. And then if they send a random response in this situation, since this is Layer Max Staffing, Oklahoma City, a very common response is, yo, you got any jobs available? Well, then obviously we want to make sure that their team is aware of that message, so we send it over to them to let them know of the situation, so that way they can handle it appropriately. Let's say they didn't respond. We waited 1 day. We're going to send out another text message just in case. Hello, just checking in to see if you got our message yesterday. Did you have a good experience with our rep? And then you put the business name. You wait for the response, and you basically just check for one more time to see if they said yes, no, stop, or gave a random response. And after that, you don't worry about it and send them another text. So that's a good example of how to use the automation. There's so many ways to use it. As you can see, we had a couple examples in here of using the tag and setting up context to do not disturb. And let's see if there was anything else. I think those were the two from here. But yeah, that's just a couple examples right there. Cohen, is there anything you would like to add?
No, I don't have anything.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I appreciate your time. I do know that we're going to continue on with automation for the next few weeks because that's just a lot of information to go over, and you could do so much with it. We are going to do some examples throughout, so that way you have some better ideas of how to use those triggers and actions. But if there's anything specific you want us to show you how to use, we can make sure to reach out to us, and we'll make sure to add it to the next workshop, or we can have a one-on-one meeting on it to make sure we could clarify it a little bit better for you and how to use it for your business specifically. Other than that, is there any questions, comments, or concerns? Wow, quiet crowd. All right, well, I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a fantastic day.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Oren.
No problem, no problem.